You guys have been bugging me for an update on this 996 Carrera. And to be honest, I just got the parts in. Just got the parts in. I don't have everything yet. Found more things I need, but it's okay because progress is still progress. If you haven't caught the first two videos on this car, I basically bought this car turnkey, and we're going to apply those terms pretty loosely. 996 from another guy that works on cars and posts videos about it. And let's just say mistakes were made. And you know, I'm not pointing fingers or trying to cause a war here. People make mistakes. I've made mistakes. I've taken shortcuts that I regret later. I just want to focus my energy on fixing them, which is why there's no engine in it right now. Turnkey. Okay. Regardless, all stuff that can be sorted. Not a huge dollar investment, just my time. Okay, it is kind of expensive for parts. It doesn't matter. It's what I wanted, and I signed up for this, right? Yeah. I did this to myself. This car really didn't have that many problems. It really wasn't that bad. It needed a shock that was leaking, so I put 4 Coney shocks on it. Needed the mufflers put back on, some pinstriping, and some intake gaskets, and some other things that I'm glad I pulled the engine and transmission out to fix. However, it also has a lot of intermix in the cooling system, and I need to get all of that out. So today's video, we're going to be cleaning all of the intermix out, power washing the engine bay, and working on the IMS. The previous owner did not replace the IMS, although he did inspect it. I figure I've got the engine out. It would be kind of foolish not to. So we're going to get into all those things and hopefully get this thing ready to go back in the car. Here's what the engine bay looks like now. We left off looking like this. Got my Tidy Cats bucket to catch any power steering fluid that might drip out of that system, so it saves my driveway from looking like I parked BMWs on it. I parked BMWs on it. Anyway. In the last video, we flushed the cooling system to get all of the green coolant out of the car. It's not supposed to have green coolant, although many of you said it doesn't matter. It matters. It's supposed to have the pink coolant. It's going to get the pink coolant. But when I had that apart, I realized that this car still has a healthy amount of intermix in it, and that's from the air oil separator that was failed before the engine was out the last time. Now that part's been replaced, but there's still a ton of this in the system. So we're going to try a couple things today to get the majority of the stuff out. All I can do is try at this point. Short of replacing everything, all we can do is try. Okay, so I have a couple bad ideas that I'm going to try all at one time. So my plan is, I got this from my house. It had a bunch of clothes or something. It doesn't matter. It's not important. Hopefully it's not used again. And then I've got this pump that I picked up at my local drugstore. And this just sucks from the bottom of here. And since the oil will sit on top, this will suck from the bottom. I think we'll be okay there. And then this was on my washing machine. I don't even think it uses this. So we're going to connect this to these. And then we're going to put this here, like so. Again, we're not trying to create a whole bunch of pressure here. We just need it to push fluid. And then this is going to go to one of the radiator hoses that fits, like this. And then we're going to connect this to one of the coolant pipes. And then we're going to connect this, I don't know why I stuck that in there, to this amazing apparatus I made last time. Actually, I don't even think we need this. If I just put this one on there and then dump it back into here. And the idea is that all the intermix will sit on the top. The pump will suck from the bottom. And to do this, I'm going to use a little bit of this Simply Green stuff. And we'll see if we can clean this out. I don't know what I'm doing. All right, I've got this kind of set up. Here's that, whatever you want to call that. And that's going to be the exhaust, and we'll probably reverse flow this after a while. We'll see if this works in the first place. And then this wasn't really the right size, so I just kind of pushed it in there, and this doesn't really fit that good, but we're just going to push it the rest of the way in, and then we're just going to hope it doesn't leak too bad. I'm going to slide that on the hose here, and I don't think I need any clamps just because this isn't under pressure. So now all that's left to do is put some water in here and some of this. So for this experiment, I'll wait till this gets hot. We're going to use some hot water. One of the smartest things I ever did, which I guess that's, I don't know, it's all relative, is put a hot and cold water spigot on the outside of my house. So that way I have hot water on the outside. It was kind of one of those last minute things when I was building this part of the house. And for that like one time every 3 years like this where you prefer hot water, ended up being worth it. Now, of course, we're going to rinse this out when we're done. This stuff can't really sit in here. I don't know if that's strong enough. A little bit more. That's good. Something else that's important, too, is that there is as much capacity in this container or more than the car. If I use a small bucket, it would evacuate the system before, or evacuate the bucket before coolant came out the other side, because these things hold a ton of coolant. Okay, here goes something. I have no idea if this is going to work. Uh-oh. My cord doesn't reach. That's okay. We can just move this here. Does this have an on-off switch? Nope. Bought the base model. Do I have a defective unit here? Oh no, it needs water to do this. Alright, well, let's shut this off for a second. I did not read the instructions. Priming port plug. Oh! Aha! Well, I think I can do this a different way. I don't know how this is going to work. I didn't buy the good one. Yeah, we'll just do this. I'm the primer. It's going to work. Also, my hands are going to be very clean after this. They tingle a little bit. Let's see if that does anything. You definitely don't want to let the smoke out of this. First, let's plug it in and see if it shoots stuff at my garage door. Oh yeah, I think this will work. Oh no! That's bad. Okay, so we got a leak. Little known fact, the hardware store sells intercooler couplers. But in this case, we're just using it to plumb this. Hopefully that doesn't leak. We're going to try this again. All right, let's see if she works. Come on now. Oh, it's doing stuff. But I can't tell if anything's coming out of it. Oh, we got leaks. I guess we're just going to let this run for a little bit and see what happens. Well, as you can see, there is some oil coming out of this, some intermix, and it is sitting on the top. This is working really well. I had a small leak at the front, which I fixed with a worm clamp. I know. But this seems to be working. Now, does this get all of it out? I really have no idea. We're just trying stuff at this point. Now, the previous owner of this car inspected the IMS bearing, which is fine. I appreciate looking at it at least. However, when I'm this far, I'm going to replace it. And I waited a very long time to get the replacement in. That's why it took so long for an update video. So we're going to jump right in. We're going to get the clutch and flywheel off. We're going to lock the engine with the appropriate tools and replace the IMS. First, we're going to remove the clutch pressure plate. I have no idea what the torque spec is right now. I will learn by the time I install that, but that was very loose. I have to give it a little encouragement. Now, this is supposed to have been replaced, so we're going to check that out now. Yep, it's brand new clutch. Looks literally perfect. One thing I don't like seeing though, you're not supposed to reuse these flywheel bolts. These are one-time use, they're torque to yield. And those have obviously been in longer than the clutch disc. So these live in the same house essentially. And look how clean the metal is here, and look how dirty those flywheel bolts are. That's not good. I've got some new bolts coming, and yeah, I'm not surprised. All right, see if we can get these flywheel bolts out. That wasn't too bad. Yeah, these are definitely not new bolts. It's okay, we'll be getting new bolts. Well, here's the IMS. Now, I was told this was inspected or checked. But what's odd is I don't really see any tool marks on that. I'm sure it was a part. It's not super dirty in here. I don't think the rear main seal is leaking. I'm pretty sure that was replaced. Well, we're going to go ahead and fish that out once we get the engine in place. Before we put the engine at top dead center and lock it down, I'm actually going to give it a little brake clean bath, kind of clean this area up. We don't want any of this stuff to end up in the crankcase. That was all pretty dirty for an engine out service being done just not too long ago. So the very first thing we need to do is turn this engine over and lock it with this tool. It goes into this hole here, and there's a spot on the crankcase where it will lock the crank. And then we'll verify that that's locked. There we go. Next, we're going to remove this lower cam plug. I got new ones. And we're going to install this, which is the locking tool. Make sure that this fits all right. Like a glove. I just got to get a bolt for it. All right. So now effectively the engine is locked, and we need to remove the timing chain tensioners. There are a few of them. Now that the engine's locked, we can start taking the timing chain tensioners out. There are 3 we need to take out, 1 at the bottom of each side, and then 1 at the front on this side. Let's get this one out first. We got to drop this coolant hose here. Just need to get that one out right there. All right, so this one's a 14 millimeter hex, and I can't really fit my ratchet on there because of how this is sitting on the table. So we're gonna do it this way. And it's gonna work, I think. Okay, this is gonna be a little bit of a challenge. On all the videos that I've seen of people doing this, this just cracks loose and then comes off. All right, so I thought a little smarter, and I ground down the edges of this crappy screwdriver so I can put this crappy wrench on it so that I can just grab the wrench. Yeah, it should make this a little easier. We are making progress. Glorious. All right, next, remove these bolts. And then this piece should come right out, just with some careful prying. Hey, it's coming out now. There we are. Well, it's not even the right bearing. Since I can't replace the IMS, I buttoned everything back up, torqued everything to spec, and now it's time to install the flywheel. Now, the previous owner reused the flywheel bolts, which is a big no-no on these cars. These are tightened to 19 foot-pounds and then 120 degrees, so that means these are torqued to yield. and they're also only $1.50 a piece. So they're really inexpensive. There's no reason to reuse these. We're gonna get this flywheel on, which it is keyed. There's a roll pin in the crankshaft here, so we'll make sure we get that in the right spot. And we'll get the clutch on, and then the transmission. All right, I'm gonna give this a couple of thuds with this, kind of seat this flywheel here. I think it's just gonna fight me the whole way. Okay, I think we're on there now. Now I'm just going to put these bolts in kind of snug. I'm not gonna go crazy. Okay, now it's time to torque these down to 19 foot-pounds. All right, now the next step is 120 degrees, and I'm going to do this in 2 stages. I'm going to go 90 and then 30. So I've put a little line with my marker going straight up, so that's going to be 0. So 120 degrees will be about here. So first we're going to go 90, and then we'll go 30. Everything's at 90, so now I just need to take it the last 30. Torqued to spec. Now normally when you put a new clutch in a vehicle, you buy it as a kit. It comes with a clutch pressure plate, a clutch disc, a throwout bearing, a pilot bearing, and sometimes a flywheel, and one of these. This is a clutch alignment tool, and what this does is you insert it into the pilot bearing, and, well, you put it into the disc, and then it centers the disc on the flywheel, so that way when you go to mate up your transmission, it slides right in. Because if you don't have this, this can fit like this, and you may not ever get it lined up. Now, I don't have one for a Porsche. I wasn't the one that did a clutch in this, so I didn't get this, and this clutch is practically new, so we're going to reuse it. But this was floating around my garage. I have a pile of these from clutch jobs in the past, and it says 03 Ford, and it happens to fit the pilot bearing very well and the clutch disc perfectly. So we're going to use this, and we're going to install this pressure plate here. Now I'm going to gently snug these down, and then we'll torque them to spec. Time to tighten these bolts down. 17 foot-pounds. After a little bit of research, it turns out because my 996 is a very early example, it doesn't use a serviceable IMS bearing. That means that the bearings that you can buy, the tool that you can use, none of them fit the bearing in this engine, which sounds bad. But the good news is these bearings apparently don't have anywhere near the failure rate that the later ones do. So I shouldn't have to worry about it. It doesn't seem like something that anyone else that I talked to is concerned about, so we're just going to put this back together, and at least now I know. I think it was worth going through all that effort so that I know I'm okay. The next thing we're going to do is put the transaxle on this table and bolt it to the engine. And at that point, the drivetrain is ready to go into the car. The real question is, can I get it up on the table? I mean, it's heavy, and I am not a strong man. See if I can do this in the least damaging way possible. It's good for the back. Normally, this would be at work, and I would have forklifts and, you know, equipment capable of putting this at the exact right height of the engine. But since I don't have that, we have some work to do. I have to figure out how to get this high enough to get onto the engine. Well, it's closer. Might be able to get it tilted up enough. We'll see. That was pretty simple. Cool. Now we just got to feed it some bolts, torque them down. I think that one went here. Now, if this were a 5.3 or a 6.0 GM, I would just zip these bolts with my impact and everything would be fine. But it is not that, so we are going to get these snug and then we will set them to the proper torque spec. The next thing that needs to happen is to clean the engine compartment. It's not super dirty, but no one has ever cleaned it, and I like to have clean cars inside and out. And I know it doesn't really matter in most situations. I'm like that. It's one of the many reasons I could never be a flat rate tech. But we're gonna take a few things out of the engine bay so that we can clean behind them, and we're gonna do some precautionary things so that water doesn't go where it shouldn't. And we'll get this cleaned up. Before I get too crazy and start power washing, I wanted to put some absorbent socks down. New Pig makes these. They will absorb any of the particulates, the oil, anything that comes off of the car that isn't water before it makes it to the drain on my driveway. And that way, whatever goes into the drain on my driveway is just water and it won't end up in the creek behind my house. The first thing and the main thing I wanted to do is remove the secondary air injection pump. I don't want any water getting in the screen, and it'll just be a lot cleaner if I can get behind it. Oh, okay. So it only had one bolt holding it in. Sweet, now I can order some more parts. It's like my favorite pastime these days. The next thing I'm going to do is wrap up the fuel lines and the AC lines. Although the AC lines have been plugged the entire time, I'm still going to wrap them up just in case one of the red caps comes flying out of there for some reason. Outside of that, I don't really think I need to seal anything up. I don't see maybe an evap line. I'll probably throw that in with the, I'll probably put that in with the fuel lines. Let's get that done. You can see how dirty some of this is. This is what I would like to clean up. And even back up in here, it's just pretty dirty. And with the engine out, it makes sense to clean it. There's just a ton of built up oil, grease. Okay, let's see if we can get some up shots here. Like I said, the engine's only out once. Okay, that's not true either. I think I'm pretty content. It's certainly a lot cleaner. Well, it does look better. It's still not perfect, but I just wanted to get the stuff that would come off on my hands. You know, the stuff that would make me dirty when working on it, that's what I wanted to get off. And it looks like I got most of that off, and you can definitely tell that this area back here has been repainted. I know this car was rear-ended once, and this is probably signs of that repair. Before I'm done with this, I may touch this up because there's some raw metal showing. I might just go over this with some, I don't know, we'll find some paint match. There's still quite a bit of work to do. I still have to put this car back together. Still need a few more parts like this. This is for the brake booster. It's the vacuum line for the brake booster. I need to replace that. And I might do a few other things before I am ready to put the engine and transmission into this car. Again, Still have to finish rinsing out the cooling system and the engine. I'm likely going to run some sort of mixture of distilled water and maybe some Dawn or something. There's some weird formula you can do there, and let the car get to operating temperature a few times, drive it a little bit, and then finally put the correct coolant into it. I hope you enjoyed this update, and as always, I love all the comments, all the feedback, and even the criticism. I love it all, and I'll catch you on the next one. Just need to get it a little bit cleaner. Hopefully I don't regret this. I might regret this. Oh, it's fine. Yeah, this is fine. This is fine. Even though my shorts are caught in everything, it's fine. This is gonna suck. Everything's trying to eat me. Everything is trying to eat me.